Good evening, all. Welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. This is episode 51. Can you believe it? We're approaching that landmark. 51.
Oh my god.
Fantastic. Welcome all. Tonight, this is Middlewest, Volume 1. And my name's Phil from Phil's Nerdyverse. Going to introduce my co-host this evening. We have Scott.
Hello, Shamai everyone. How you doing? Thanks for joining.
And Shane.
Ahoy, hoy.
As I mentioned before, this is Middlewest Volume 1 we're covering tonight. Extremely, very, very good book. And I do have a picture for you to show. Just bear with me. There we go. Middlewest Volume 1 from 2019. Writer SKOTTIE YOUNG and artist JORGE CORONA. That is what we are reading.
Poor choice of names for 2019.
Yeah, if my voice is a bit grainy, I think I'm suffering from the Rona today, so just do bear with me, okay? So this meet the herd, shall we? Who we got on with us tonight? We have Liam, the Funky Gibbons, Heidi Ho, Highland G is joining us, everyone, and Triple J Comics, Oreet, in his Newcastle accent. I was pure. Sorry to offend everyone in Newcastle.
How dare
James or Matt from This Week in Metropolis, Ethan Fellas.
Hey.
And Dominic from the Comic Book Report. Hello all. Okay. I suppose the synopsis comes from the host who picked the book, and this is my good self. This is about a weird journey, a weird fantasy journey from Abel and his pet friend Fox, or the unnamed Fox. Essentially, his father has some sort of curse. He's, I don't know, become some sort of tornado monster, and then kind of unleashed one night. He touches his son to the point where he marks him, so he now has this same kind of, I'm calling it a curse, but never called it a curse, but I'm calling it a curse. So he flees his dad, runs away, runs the kind of carnival, and becomes somewhere where he finds a sense of belonging as a carny, only for the proverbial shit to hit the fan towards the end. And yeah, so this kind of follows him and, like I say, his friend Fox and some other weird characters along the way. And yeah, that was great.
There you go.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just before we get on to the book, Dominic is saying right from the jump, I haven't read this, but so excited for today's episode. I heard a lot of buzz around this series. And this is the thing, at the time, I didn't pick up the single issues, but I do recall that there were a lot of people talked a lot about this book.
I've never heard of this book until you picked it.
Really? And you're a SKOTTIE YOUNG fan?
I'd heard of bits of it here and there, but I didn't really know how much of a following it had. But yeah, but I'm glad it's come on the list to read, you know.
Well, I think the reason why I maybe had the kind of hype about it was more the fact that SKOTTIE YOUNG was on writing duties and not the art, because obviously he is known for his art.
Yeah.
But he didn't draw a single panel on this. I don't even think he drew any of the covers. There's nothing of his art in this book, solely his writing. So I'll tell you what, Scott, do you want to start us off with first impressions on it?
Yeah, fine. I'll start off. We'll just say there's a little trigger warning for this episode. This time, there are some subjects in the book that may, cause some people to struggle in some areas. But I won't bring it up now. But if it brings it, if it's brought up, it's brought up, and that's it. But yeah, my first impressions. What a cool book. I mean, I'm a big fan of, like, sci-fi and fantasy are like my favorite genres. So, to read this kind of fantasy kind of thing, it was really cool. I didn't expect it to be as fantastical as it was, with talking animals and, robot helpers and as much magic that's in the book as well. For me, it was all just a really big, pleasant surprise. And, to see straight away for Abel, I forgot his name then, for Abel to kind of come from this broken home and kind of, an abusive father and all this kind of stuff. I was kind of heartbroken from the start, but also really rooting for Abel. And I think overall, I nearly started doing my final thoughts and scores then. It was a cool read. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah, the fox was probably one of my favorite characters. With how sarcastic he was.
This is going to be a strange thing to say live on the internet because I'll probably get stick for it. So when I'm reading books, I deliberately try and find certain voices to fit a character, you know. And for some strange reason, I don't know why, I landed on George Clooney, his voice to voice the fox,
What?
and I just really think it suits.
Because of the marvelous Mr. Fox or the fabulous Mr. Fox. He
But he-
voiced
I
that,
did-
didn't he?
Mr. Fox.
I didn't even maybe I knew that like subconsciously, whatever. But
Subconsciously.
yeah. So possibly, but I was listening, I was reading the book, and for me, it was George Clooney's voice, voicing
Wow.
Fox. I don't know why.
See, I hear people talk about this, like giving characters voices and stuff, and apparently I just can't do it. Like, I cannot give a character a voice. I'm just literally reading words. But I don't know. I read them in a tone, maybe, but I can't put voices on the stuff that I read, and I don't understand why I don't do it. I can't do it. But that's just me. It's weird.
I think I do
No
that for
imagination.
everything. Like if I'm reading Batman, for example.
Well, I think with characters that we've seen on screen, obviously I read it in that kind of voice. But if there's a character that I'm brand new to and isn't been on screen or in a film or whatever, then I won't.
That's fair. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
when you read the Joker, it's Mark Hamill's voice, isn't it? You can't help
Yeah,
it.
of course, definitely, yeah.
So
I think Phil's frozen or is freezing.
he is.
So yeah.
So
He'll be back in a sec.
Yeah.
So when this is my first anything with this book. I hadn't heard of it or looked it up or anything. And I'm kind of torn because I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. Like it was very just blah and bland. It was
Yeah.
very bog standard. It was just dull. Not dull as in a bad way, just dull as in I've seen everything before. Like this story is essentially it's the Wizard of Oz, isn't it? Like him and his
Yes.
dog get
Yeah.
taken away because of a tornado, and they meet a
Yeah.
scarecrow and a tin man and a witch, and it's like it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like it's a cliche story, isn't it? Where boy has to kind of flee from somewhere. He has a companion, and he goes along the way and meets characters of certain emotional, aspects, which teach him to grow and move and change as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is that kind of cliche kind of thing going on, but overall, like I think I see what you mean. To be honest, with the whole, it's you don't love it, but it's not a terrible book at all.
No, I don't regret reading it at all. 100%. I don't regret reading it, but I would not have sought this out on my own.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I would have, based on all of the hype that's come out of this book. Yeah, but I think the one thing I do want to touch on is how stunning this book is.
Oh yeah, the art is gorgeous.
And what is great to know as well is that SKOTTIE Young is capable of writing something that isn't, just crude the whole time.
Yeah, but saying that, he did try to recreate the back and forth between Gert and Larry with all the characters. You had like Bobby and Wrench, and you had Abel and the fox, and the back and forth didn't always work for me. It just seemed too forced because you didn't know anything about any of these characters. There's no world building in this book whatsoever. It just expects you to just believe everything's there. You've got your magic, you've got your machines, you've got normal life. I mean, he's delivering papers at the beginning. His dad's in a normal hospital. They talk about these tornadoes like they're just tornadoes. So do they know about magic? Do they not? But there is magic. And then there's like talking robots and carnival rides that are thousands of years old. So there's no explanation in this world at all, which I found a bit confusing.
Sorry, folks. Can I ask? Am I back? Am I clear? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, everyone. My internet has been
yes.
absolute pants today in general. So I do apologize for that. I missed some of what you're saying, but I kind of get the same vibe. The fact that what I liked about this book, like it's fantasy with an aspect of like real life. wasn't it? Like all
Yeah.
mixed in together. Like it didn't look like too much like the Wizard of Oz that you were mentioning. Like it wasn't too, it didn't have the yellow brick road or whatever. And that is Wizard of Oz, isn't it? I always get them confused.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like just like they've mixed it with real life and the kind of real life issues and looked like the Middlewest of the US or something like that. And
Yeah.
but one thing I do have, and it's not an issue with, I actually think it's a good thing, but can be a bad thing. They have all this kind of fantasy elements, but didn't really explain them. Like the big pink or the big kind of
Yes.
canisters of pink fuel or
What was
whatever.
it there?
But we don't.
It was
They didn't-
everywhere.
He didn't even try it. But that's the thing. That's obviously their fuel source because it was on houses, it was on cars, it was on
Yeah.
everything, and they
Yeah.
didn't explain it once. But I don't think they need to.
I
No.
think they needed to explain some of the world. They explain none of it whatsoever. You've got talking animals, magic, talking robots, and then you have a complete normal side of life with delivering papers and hospitals and trucks and truck stops and all that. So there needed to be some explanation to this world.
Yeah, I mean, I think like sometimes books hold your hand, and I think I was happy that my hand wasn't held through this, and I could just go ahead and make my own assumptions as to what these things are and why these things are and stuff like that. And I think that was one thing I enjoyed about it, was that it wasn't all written out and like set clearly for me, and I could just make up what I wanted about it, and just decide for myself. To me, this is this, and maybe that's that will make me enjoy the book even more, or enjoy it in a different way than what you or Phil would enjoy, or anyone else in the chat here who has read it. Just their interpretations of things.
Yeah. Folks, just want to get caught up with some of the comments here before we get lost off it. Okay, so Triple G Comics is saying he bought the hardcover. He's almost finished it all, but he did say he wasn't blown away with the first few issues. Not sure why. The Wandered Around and Sidekick were like a watered down version of I Hate Fairyland, which I think is kind of what you'd mentioned. Dominic is confirming that George Clooney was the Fantastic Mr. Fox. Liam, my internet seems to be okay at the minute. And we have Perpetual Comics. Andy, evening, folks. He's in the chat. And Highland G is saying that he found it quite slow and somewhat predictable, but it had its moments. And I agree. I think it was quite slowly paced, wasn't it? And Liam, Shane has a body tonight. I feel like I'm going to be agreeing with Shane a lot tonight.
First time for everything.
Triple G again. I didn't know if the fox was in his head or not until issue 2. And I actually thought that myself as well. That it wasn't until the, I forget his name, the old man, the whatever his name was, started talking to the fox as well. I agree. I thought it was in his head. And this is what we're kind of mentioned, trigger warning. Personally, I felt the whole world was an abused child's delusion. And he obviously was kind of tormented with his dad type thing, wasn't he? And there is an element that maybe he is making this up in his head. And I thought that as well.
Yeah. I don't think that is the case, but I can see where people are coming from that. Yeah, just some sort of, kind of make this fantastical safe space for yourself whilst all this is going on. And, but to be fair, the whole thing did start as a dream when he was being attacked by the wind, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, God, now you've made me think about it even more in a totally different way. And now it's 10:15 in the night, and I don't want my head to hurt as much.
I did think like maybe it was all in his head, because it's the only way. There was no explanation, like I say, to the world at all. It's like it was started out completely normal, and then a fox starts talking to him, and then there's wind monsters, but everyone's saying it's just a normal tornado. That there's just storm warnings quite often, so it is a bit. That's it. That's my major issue with the book is the world building just wasn't there. There was none at all. Like with I Hate Fairyland, she appears in Fairyland and then all rules are out the window. You know what's going on. But this is it the real world? Is it not the real world? Maybe start issue 1 by telling us. But
again, for me, I enjoy my own interpretation of it. It's I like to think, I like to think about stuff, and to be able to try to think of it throughout and try to pick out a little clue here or there, maybe that goes, actually, it's more this, or maybe it's more that. I enjoy that.
See, I'm reading the hardcover, the Triple G mentioned. It's the complete tale, so it's all 3 volumes. I purposely didn't move on past volume 1, and sometimes I would do that. But the reason being, I don't want answers yet. You know, like if this is all make believe and it is in his head, if that comes later in the book, or even like you're saying, there's more kind of hints dropped, great. But at the minute, I just want to kind of live with what I'm read so far and not go too far before this show. But folks, I want to move on to the art because I'm going to go to Shane, because Shane, you put some images on Instagram, and I'll say this now. So I've seen these images before I read the book, and it's one of those things that I like to think I would have noticed, but now that you pointed them out to me, it's all I could see, and that was the lack of angles.
Yeah.
Like, it was a really strange kind of stylized art that it passes. There's no question. It's not a bad art, but it is odd. It's an odd style of art.
Yeah, they were just sticks, weren't they?
Yeah, literally just sticks that hit there. In one panel, like when he was fighting the troll, I think it was on the bridge. As you see him from behind, it doesn't look like he's got any. It looked like shoes, and then he was hovering above them. I had to actually zoom into the panel to make sure he had ankles. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, like the thing is too, like, it wasn't even just hit the ankles. Even I found out like they had really pointy toes and really long fingers. Like that's obviously just the style that the Jorge Corona kind of does, I suppose. But like I say, I don't know if anyone else found this, but do you find similarities between SKOTTIE Young's art and this? Like, it's not quite the same. It's not as cartoony, but I find similarities. I found it almost not mirrored it, but was getting closer to his style of art. Would you agree?
I can see why he picked this artist.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm flicking through some of the pages now as we're chatting, and I'm just looking, going, yeah, I can see that in Fairyland. I can see that in Fairyland.
Yeah, it's all the kind of crookedness, the kind of crooked buildings and stuff, isn't it?
That's, like definitely more like the environmental stuff.
Yeah,
I can see a lot of similarities. And then, but then in terms of like how the characters look, maybe not. But yeah, definitely in the environments to me.
I really like the character faces though on the humans.
Yeah,
I do have to admit the faces are lovely.
I mean, some comments here. Sorry, I haven't read this. After reading Hate Fairyland, I always thought he should stick to drawing babies, but after 2 issues of the Me, You, and Love in the Dark, he's actually a great storyteller, and
all right,
we agree.
Go back and try Fairyland again, then.
Yeah, so like the faces reminded me of the very recent issues of Lucky Devil. The father in this reminded me of the main character in Lucky Devil. So if anyone's read that, hopefully you can agree with me.
I have not.
Oh, well, you should.
So Dominic is saying, I feel like I need to look into this. I hate Fairyland. You do, and then go back and watch the 2 episodes that we covered, volume 1 and 2, and tell us what you think. Liam is saying, you mean when they actually had faces, Shane? And that was another thing. And I don't know why this happened, but there were quite a few panels where they didn't have faces.
Yes.
Like, it could be one of 2 things. Either they had to rush the book and didn't have time, or they forgot. It's strange.
Was it just that they were just too far away, and like it was no point just putting like a few dots and lines here?
It's lazy art. I mean, you didn't even have 2 dots and some lips, did you? It was just nothing.
But that's what makes me think it's purposeful. Like, they've done that for a reason. Like, even if it's to add to the kind of oddity of the kind of world. Like, if it's make believe, maybe he doesn't. This is what I'm thinking. So if it is make believe, maybe he's not seeing that facial expression in his kind of mind to kind of picture it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Like, I'm being too clever for this book. I don't know. But it just feels like it's just why not have it, but do great art and great detail in the rest of the book. It's hard to call it lazy. Yeah.
Speaking of great art and detail, I really like the character design of the troll in the bridge. That troll was awesome. I think in terms of all like the creatures and stuff, I really enjoyed the troll and I really enjoyed the robot. What was his name? Wrench.
Yeah.
He was cool. Yeah, very, very, very good character designs throughout. I think.
I feel as well I kind of want to give a mention to the colorist, Jean-Francois Belleau, I think it's pronounced. The
Yeah.
reason why, because the troll image that, if you could recall, whenever they burst through the kind of ceiling of the hut or whatever,
Yeah.
it was the sun comes down, hardens the troll, but it was the kind of like the washed out colors
Yes.
on that image kind of really stood out for me. The fact that like it was all washed out because the brightness of the sun. Like you didn't have to do that in the book. Just have the sun, bit of shining, and then go solid as a rock.
Yeah.
But they done that, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
And the colors throughout the book, I mean, I think we all agree that the colors were
Oh yeah.
Very vibrant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Andy is saying here, Corona is a poor man's Tim Burton. And now do you mention that, there is a bit of Tim Burton, like
Yeah.
what's that Christmas Halloween
Nightmare
Play-Doh?
Before Christmas.
That's the one. There is a wee bit of that too, isn't there? A wee bit.
I could see this in stop motion. Actually, this would be quite good in stop motion. The
Yeah, it
characters
would
would
actually,
fit
yeah.
really well.
Really good.
Peter's saying, I find the art a bit strange at times. I couldn't work out what things were. For example, the thing on the train was a human or a giant chicken man thing. It was creepy, and that's the thing.
It's up to you.
Yeah, it was just creepy, wasn't it? That kind of.
It was weird.
It's not up to you, Scott. When you're reading a comic book, imagine this isn't a book. This is a comic book. So images are not up to you to interpret. The artist is supposed to do a good job at showing you what's on the page.
I've just enjoyed the mystery of the whole thing, apparently.
Yeah. But no, I think Scott's right. Like, I mean, it's open to interpretation. I think a bit of this, with the art, the fact that chicken man thing, like what was it? And even whenever he was kicked off the train, he was falling down the cliff. Like, I think they said about he has these mechanical wings or something or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He'd be okay. But like, why would he have mechanical wings? So he has a chicken man thing. It's odd, and that's how I would describe this book overall. The story and the art. It's odd, but good.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
It's not good. It's not bad. It's vanilla.
Ooh. For you, it sounds like it's like a fine book. It's just fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It passes.
It's a book.
Yeah.
Dominic is saying this is a great episode to listen to with no context. I'd imagine you'd be really confused right now.
That's a review right there. We'll have that. We'll slap that on something. The Nerd Herd. Really good to listen to with no context.
And Andy, just a few chicken man things in Belfast, and I'm not one of them. I can confirm that. That's good. All right, well, we move on to the pages, shall we?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Do that, okay. So we will start with Shane. Do you want to go ahead and
Yeah. If you can just move the banner just for a sec, because it's the bottom panel is the reason I picked this page.
Oh yeah.
yeah?
Because that was just so lovely.
Did
just
you
the
choke
way
up poo?
I did.
Oh,
I actually
man.
did. This was the only time like I actually he goes back to normal, and he's worried that he's hurt anyone, and he doesn't even get the words out, and the fox just stops him and he says you didn't, and it's just so beautiful, isn't it?
I know. Like I think what makes that even more powerful is the fact that the fox just doesn't care the whole time before this and after this, and he's just like sarcastic, and he likes to like leave you in the deep end and just run off, and just like if you're in a tricky situation doesn't want to get involved, but then when it really matters, he's there,
Yeah.
and it was so lovely.
It really is.
See, on this page, and it highlights it as well, it was throughout the book. So on the bottom panel, see all this kind of like splash of art, like kind of the black ink, that was throughout the entire book, and I couldn't work out why. Like, was that just kind of to give it like a bit of texture, or is it like dirt or dust, or is it trying to kind of portray something? I didn't understand why I just had this like random splash of black art.
Maybe it's Abel's comic book, and he's actually writing all this, and it's not real at all.
Maybe it's just the remnants of all the smoky stuff coming up off the floor from him. I don't know. Who knows? Interpretation. Yeah.
Okay. We shall move on then to Scott's pick, if that's okay, all being well. And I almost picked this myself.
this was the final page of the first issue, and I love how it pretty much mirrors the first page. And I love it when that kind of stuff happens, because at the very beginning you see this text and it doesn't make sense to you at all, and then you get to the end and it says it again, and now it makes complete sense after you've seen this whole little story unfold. And just the pain he's going through and all the destruction you see in the bottom panel there, and it's he's going to blame himself, but it's his dad's fault, for turning into that massive windy hurricane monster. And it's just like, yeah, like I was wondering if the whole story was going to be this like heartbreaking. Thankfully it got like a bit nicer and warmer throughout the story, but the first issue is just really like it was heartbreaking. It was emotional, and it was just like, yeah, just kind of, I don't even know what to say. It just, I was just like, oh my God, like this is so hard for this kid. Like I'm imagining he's like, I don't know, between 10 and 14, that kind of age. And it's just like for someone to go through something, what he's going through, it's just, yeah, it's not every day your dad turns into a horrible tornado monster and marks you with this weird curse and also blames you for a ton of shit. Yeah, it's just mad.
I'm going to be controversial here. So obviously the father was abusive towards his son. But
Yeah.
do you not think there's something about the father could be quite, not good, but like redeeming almost? Like he might kind of be an explanation of why this whole kind of thing's occurred,
like
and why
there's
he's...
something that Abel might not know about.
Yeah,
And
I
there's
just
a
don't think the
reason why he's being
dad's...
like this.
Yeah, I don't think the dad's just a complete asshole. I think there's something for it. But obviously, like, he's still hard on the son, of course he is.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also had a hard life too. I think they mentioned the fact that whenever he got the new bicycle, whatever, given to him, he's like, well, I've worked hard for this other bicycle. Is that not worth it, or whatever? It's just like the dad's going through some stuff as well. I'm not saying, hey, listen, I'm not saying it's an excuse for abusing your children, but
No.
I just think there's more to him that we might see him redeem himself later down the line. Okay, I'll go to my page next, and I kind of picked this obviously for the kind of colors, really, to be honest.
Yeah,
Obviously,
so nice.
the detail in the carnival is fantastic, and it's obviously bright and red and orange and vibrant that way. But it's even like the stuff in the foreground, you see like the car and the kind of bit of the wilderness, like it's in the shadow, and then obviously even the sky, the kind of the cloud and the kind of the big green and orange lights going up. It all just looks it's just very pretty and lovely, I thought.
Yeah.
And you can see Abel's ankles.
His stick legs. No, it's a beautiful page. I mean, it's a stunning, spread there, and it's like, it's just, there's so much going on, and the colors are brilliant. It does a really good job at looking bright, and the shadows there as well. It's just all great, and just the big spotlights coming out as well.
The big moon
really
as well,
yeah,
kind of, even like the texture, the detail on the moon, which I thought was just quite nice.
Yeah.
And there we have those big pink canisters or whatever, all that kind of fuel sources as well.
Yeah.
Very prominent.
This was my favorite issue in the book when he first arrived at the circus or at the carnival.
Issue 2?
That picture was the end of 3, so it might have been 4 with the one where,
yeah, I enjoyed that one the most.
What was the girl's name? I forget her name.
Bobby.
That's the one, Bobby. I quite liked her as a character, and obviously, Bobby and Abel got quite close and stuff. I enjoyed that.
How sad was it that her parents just left her at the carnival, just didn't want her anymore?
I know.
I hope it turns out that they were like eaten by a dragon, and like they didn't abandon her, or like Wrench murdered them so he could have her. I just thought it was a bit sad.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the story, then, obviously we touched on some stuff earlier on. Like, what do we think in terms of? Okay, so SKOTTIE YOUNG's obviously known for his art and his covers, and I think this might be the first, other than HATE FAIRYLAND, which was just crazy. This is maybe the first thing of him trying to maybe a somewhat more of a serious book, maybe.
Yeah, like that's what I was trying to say earlier on. It's like it was, the only thing I've read that SKOTTIE YOUNG has written is I Hate Fairyland, and you know, whilst I enjoyed the book and I found it quite fun, it's still quite a crude, nonsensical story, and it's just madness all the way throughout. But so it was cool to see a different side of Scottie Young, where he is writing about, you know, abuse, and then also bringing in this fantastical element into it, and you know, giving other characters quite some depth and a little bit of history here and there. And yeah, I just enjoyed, instead of, you know, the main character being insanely angry all the time and wanting to kill everything, we have a quite
Fluffers.
yeah, like a shy yeah, those mother fluffers. We have quite a shy, you know, what's the word, introverted, kind of, you know, very considerate person as well, and I quite like seeing that.
Yeah, who doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I found it, like I said before, like the lack of world building. If you ignore that, the overall story, like the idea, I like the idea of it. The writing, not so much. I found it quite lazy, very hit and miss with the back and forth and the comedy.
Yeah.
I think the laziest thing that I saw in the book, which really sort of just made me roll my eyes, was when they were doing the magic spells and it was just symbols, because that I find that incredibly lazy in a book. If you can't come up with some random magic words to make a spell, you just put symbols in a bubble. I find that so lazy. So
I won't say it. I won't say it.
Say what? Say it.
Interpretation. Mate, is
that the word of the day? We need to get a banner going across.
I thought that was one of the coolest parts, with, you know, especially if you consider like the job of a letterer, you know, instead of just writing English all the time, they get to make up these cool characters for this magic that no one knows about. I thought from their perspective that must have been quite fun.
I guess, but as a reader, I find that a really lazy trope in books, when you take out words and just put symbols in, because you don't have anything to say. If you don't have anything to say on that page, then that page shouldn't be in the book. Take it out.
See, I'm not just sitting on the fence for the sake of having a nice fence, but I agree with both of you. Like, it's lazy to the point. Like, if I was writing this book and you're putting fantasy elements and obviously a good story together, I don't want to have to like research or think too hard about the magic and what the spell really is. Essentially, he's going to unleash this kind of tornado monster within himself, and just need to calm down. So just have those symbols, like you're talking a different language. I mean, it's like if you read like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, they talk in different languages, and you don't understand what they're saying, but you understand. You know, I think that's.
If you don't want to come up with a language, or if you don't want to come up with a spell, then give her a magical item that does the exact same thing. And then it's not lazy then, is it? You know, you can give her a gem that she's got, her crystal ball, a staff, anything that she just points at him. You don't have to come up with 3 pages of her reading, or of her speaking a spell that no one can read.
And my argument to that would be, I think the reason why they had so many speech bubbles with no words was because it wasn't easy. Where a flick of the wand or using a gem or the magic ball, it would just be like it's easy, you know. Where the fact that she's having to tell this spell and like it's taking its toll on her as well, type thing. And I think Pete from Triple G is having. There we are. We can interpret that. Go ahead. Someone will try that out.
Just a bunch of emojis.
But there's a WC, so I think he's saying this is this book is poo. That's what I take from that.
It's either the book or us, but you know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And who doesn't like a nice fence? Absolutely Dominic. Highland G saying as well, he started Strange Academy recently, and it's pretty good. It's also Scottie Young. He's writing that. I don't think he's in the art. I don't think, but he is writing the story, and it's a pretty sought after book at the minute.
It is. Yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on it.
So, I have one thing to say, Phil. And knowing how you don't like cliffhangers in books, how did you feel at the end of this? Because this is not a complete story, even though it's volume 1. This is not a complete story, which loses massive points for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, I have the hardcover here, so it's called The Complete Tale. So obviously that, if I was
We're
reading
not reading the complete tale. We're reading
I know,
volume 1.
I get that. I'm just saying the 3 of them is the complete tale, so I kind of know that in advance. It doesn't lose points, I don't think, for me for that, because I know that 18's grand. Like I'll read this next, and that's fine. But for the purpose of this, it sets it up nicely.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was quite happy with the way it ended.
Oh, okay. So it's just I Hate Fairyland. You didn't like the ending too. That was a complete ending, but
No,
apparently
it was
too open-ended for you. But him, this big monster appearing at the end, that's not open-ended enough for you.
Shane, how long have you waited to get at me about this? It's like, I'm gonna one day,
27
Phil,
weeks, Phil. 27
one day,
weeks.
I will get you. But no, I mean,
Counting.
you've actually put me on the spot because I actually can't remember how it ended exactly. I need to refresh myself here.
I actually thought I actually turned the page thinking there was more to it, because this is not a complete story. Don't pick up volume 1 thinking you're getting an actual story. You're not. You're getting part of a story, which I find. I've said it from the start, haven't I? I find that incredibly offensive in trades. If I'm picking up a trade, I want an entire story. You can leave things open-ended. You can leave things for the next volume, but you have to finish something. And this finished nothing. It just was like, oh, and by the way, to be continued. Money well spent. Not really, because now you have to pay double to get the next part.
Yes,
but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Don't pay double. Click on the link below and buy that copy. Yeah. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think it's because I had it in my head beforehand that I knew that was going to be 18. Like a one.
See, I didn't, because I knew nothing about this at all. So I was expecting a story from start to finish,
like an arc.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know, but yeah, it does end open-ended. But I personally, I was okay with it. The fact that Abel just turns into this a mini wind monster, and he starts to rip apart the carnival, and you got Bobby there saying it's too late, and then that's the end.
Well, it's not the end. It just stops.
No,
it just stopped.
What goes on? You see an insight into it. It's not a cliffhanger, but I just checked it. The next few images are obviously the father's come by and he's bumped into the old man, Jeb.
Yeah.
And so it just adds a little bit more intrigue.
That was before. That happened earlier in the story.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
I've just looked at it.
That was the pressure of me flicking through the book live on YouTube. So, but I mean, I'm looking forward to reading on, to be honest. And that's kind of one thing I wanted to ask you guys as well. Like, what do you almost expect going forward? Like, what do you think will happen, type thing?
Obviously, there's going to be a fight, isn't there, between Abel and his dad? There's going to be a wind monster versus wind monster fight.
His dad is going to sacrifice himself to save his son because he's not actually a bad guy.
Yeah, something.
He's not a bad person. He's just a bad dad. So he'll sacrifice himself. Abel will survive. Find out why he's got this curse. Find his mum, and then everyone lives happily ever after. The end.
And then he gets a new bike.
Yes.
And does his paper round.
Well, this
is the thing too about the father, folks. So, Abel has this mark on his chest with a few kind of, I'm calling them tattoos, or not tattoos, like these other markings, like tribal markings.
I think it's the veins coming out, isn't it? In the hospital, they say his dad's got it and it's spreading.
Yeah, but his dad's covered. Yeah, his dad's covered all over. So what happens whenever, like, if it's spreading? What happens whenever there's no more flesh to spread to? Like, is there like a ticking time bomb type thing? Is the time limited to kind of get this resolved? I quite like that kind of intrigue, and for me, that's what the end of this cliffhanger issue kind of done for me. To look forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I'm looking forward. I definitely want to read on.
I will read on if I have time. Like, I won't go out searching for it. If I have time and I've read everything else that I've got to read, I'll pick up volume 2 and give it a go.
There's always fears pick, Shane. They might pick volume 2 of this,
and
then volume 3.
Sequels month. Yeah, we can do sequel month again.
Can't wait.
There's a lot of love for Shane tonight. So Triple G, agree with Shane. And interestingly, I think that the few issues after Volume 1 are far better, and it feels like the story starts to take off. Cool. Liam, Wind Monster versus Wind Monster fight. That sounds like a battle of the farts. And well, Liam, if that was you, I hear you would win.
Yeah, 100%, no doubt. Can we talk about the scene? I think probably my favorite scene in this book was when the magic old woman, they both went into Abel's mind. It was about what six pages in total, something like that, wasn't it? And I just absolutely loved, just the black, white, and red of the whole thing, and just like a really brief but quite deep story of how his parents were and how they were with him. And there is that little inkling of like, he wasn't a bad dad, you made him better, and all that kind of stuff. That kind of section, I really enjoyed that.
And the fact that there's a part where he sees the future as well. Remember,
Yes.
they kind of referenced that he said, "Well, this isn't my memory. That's it's something." I think it was an image of him as older with his dad coming back saying, "Hey, son," or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So like, it's not quite a dream sequence or a memory; it's something else, and that just for me adds to the intrigue of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Unless, that's just my interpretation. This I've interpreted it wrong.
Interpretation.
Interpretation. I'm sick of that word already. Oh my god. The art was great though, because I did almost pick the panel with the roses, with the memories in the roses. That was almost my page pick. Yeah, it was great.
Just a wee shout out to Tom from This Month of Movies. Hi guys, hope you're all well. He's
Hey,
nice
Tom.
to see them. So,
Cool.
I mean, is there anything else to add before we kind of move on to final thoughts and scores?
I'm not too sure. Like, it was. I think Shane said earlier on that this, there wasn't a lot of writing, and it was a lot. It was mostly just, fantastic panels. There we go. Liam's there. Interpretation. The art was stunning, but the writing, there wasn't a lot of it. Some sections were, but overall it was quite, lackluster. But I think a lot of the writing went into the directing the artist, because SKOTTIE YOUNG, at the end of the day, he is an artist, and he knows that kind of realm best. So he probably wrote most of the script, for the artist, just to go, make sure this emotion is conveyed, make sure you can see that this action is happening, stuff like that. So even though the writing was quite lackluster, we can see a lot of the story going on in the art. But I can't really say, I can't really think of what else to say about the art, about the story. Sorry.
Yeah, well, there wasn't a lot of narration. It was all dialogue, pretty much. There's also a bit at the start when they talk about the wind and so on. But I think again that was deliberate, because I don't think SKOTTIE YOUNG with this book, I don't think he wants to explain the world. He just has things there for the sake of it, almost, without explaining it. And to use that word again, you obviously have your own interpretation, of how this world really is. And I just think, interpretation. I think that's deliberate. I think he's not going to explain too much, because he could easily explain things. Like even like the troll scene, he could have a few boxes of narration explaining why the troll's here, or has been here for 50,000 years, blah blah blah, whatever. But he doesn't want to explain it. It's just there's a troll. It's a bridge. Was it a bridge house? And there's a troll. That's it.
That's it.
Done.
Yeah.
See, that's what I have a problem with. Like, you don't have to hold my hand and explain the entire world. Like, Monstrous was just like bombarding you with, this is the world, this is what happens, this is how it works. But just acknowledge that at the beginning that there are talking animals, and that people know about magic and stuff, because it wasn't clear that anyone knew about anything, any magic or anything. Yes, there was a talking fox, but I think like one of the comments said, in the first issue, you don't know if he's real or not
Yeah.
until he talks to someone else.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then it didn't make sense. It was a bit too far away from reality.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was shocked, but when, you know, you see the first panel of the fox coming up and just talking, I was just like, oh, okay. It's one of those. It's one of those stories. You know, but you know, like I said earlier, I had no idea what I was going into with this book. I just knew it was about this boy and there was some sort of wind monster, and that was it. That's all I knew going into this. And then it kind of opens up, and I really enjoyed what I was introduced to and how this world kind of unfolded in front of me. Yeah, really enjoyed that.
Sounds like you're about to go into your final thoughts again. So we'll it's a good point to stop here, kind of, and we before we move on to our final thoughts and scores, just remind the chat that if you've read along this week, please add your score into the chat. We will gather and collate those scores and work out an average, and yeah, let us know what you thought about the book. So we'll do final thoughts. Will I go with Scott first? Do you want to lead the way?
Yeah. I mean, what can I say that I haven't already said? The art was lovely. I mean, we can see that it's quite close to SKOTTIE Young's style. Well, mostly, definitely in terms of the environment to me, but the colors were fantastic. Every page was just a joy to look at, be it, you know, a gloomy one or a bright and happy one. It was just all fantastic to look at. Yeah, the story, it was very good, lackluster in writing, but the direction the artist was given, I think that's where most of the energy went into for the script. And yeah, you know, I really felt for Abel with the situation with his dad. It really sucked for him, and you know, there were a few moments at the start of the story where I did get choked up, and yeah, I think it's that kind of emotional pull that does help me to enjoy the book. The fantastical aspect was really cool. I just enjoyed seeing how things would unfold, but it isn't the best thing I've ever read. I mean, you know, it was slightly slow. Whilst I enjoy these things being introduced, there are things missing, but I do really believe that this is something that will get a lot better. So I'm going to give this a 6.5.
Ooh. And Shane?
I said at the beginning, this is vanilla. This is take it or leave it. I don't regret reading it. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. It was just a book that I read. I finished it and I was like, oh, like it was just like kind of nothing. I expected everything to happen that happened. I wasn't surprised by anything. The art is lovely. I love the art. I'm not going to lie. The art's so playful and the colors just make the art so much better. The back and forth between the characters was, for me, it was nothing. When you're used to SKOTTIE writing like Gert and Larry, you know, that back and forth is just gold. And then you have like the Fox and Abel, and it just didn't work for me personally. The story, the idea overall, I really like. I like the idea. I think it was just poorly executed, and the lack of world building, the lack of explanation with the magic and the machines and the normal human world. I can't get over that. I really can't. The lazy magic writing, that annoys me more than anything. For me, this is just one of those books that you read, when you put it down, you walk away 5 minutes later, you never think of it again. You know, and if someone brings it up, you go, "Oh, well, I read that," and that's the end of that conversation. It was just very bland. There is nothing in this book that will excite or entertain you for longer than this book is. Like the page count is how long this book entertains you for. That is it. So for me, because I didn't hate it and I didn't love it, it's a 5. It's just a middle of the road 5 from me.
Cool. I will go into some scores here first with the chat before I go into mine, but I just remind those folks that once I talk about mine, get your in quick. So Triple G is agreeing with you, Shane. 5. It's just a bit meh. And that's kind of what you said, just in not so many words.
Yeah. I could have saved like 3 minutes.
No, we're trying to use the time up here, you know. So yeah, Highland J, it looks nice, but wasn't for me. 6 out of 10. And Liam, it's a 5 out of 10 from me. It was just okay, and probably wouldn't have read on, But based on what Peter said, that the story begins to take off after volume 1, then I might just give volume 2 a chance. And then when you do that, you might as well just go read from volume 3 and complete the
That's
story.
all that's left. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. It's all about the money at the end of the day. They want to make it. Okay, right. So there's not much more for me to add from what you guys have said. I agree with both of you. But again, my
Get off the fence.
interpretation, it's just the art, as Scott had mentioned, it's an absolute pleasure to look at. Every scene, every even though it's odd with the ankles and even like the faces, for example, not being there, like it is odd, it's still pleasant to look at, and it's just like the colors, like the pastel colors and stuff. It looks beautiful. Story wise, again, I think it's deliberate not to explain the world. Like, here is the world. That's it. Done. But I will agree with you, Shane, that the back and forth between Fox and Abel, it's not on par with Gert and Larry at all. But it's a different type of story, I suppose. It don't have that kind of sarcastic humor, but it didn't hit me as much as their kind of relationship and their kind of back and forth. But yeah, I mean, George Clooney and Abel, they're just they're nice together, but they're just not, they haven't quite hit me that way as well. And I can see how maybe he relied on that a lot to kind of hit readers off the book as well. Beautiful to look at. I like the story. I'm going to read on. It is odd, but I like it. I'm torn. I'm going to give this 6.5. That's going to be my score.
Right.
And as always, I'm not the best at math, but Scott over there is an absolute mathematical wizard, so he's going to work out the averages.
I've done it.
So give us the viewers average first.
So we had 2 5s and a 6, which gives us the average of 5.3 for the audience. And for us boys, Phil and I give it 6.5 and Shane give it a 5, which gives us the average of 6 out of 10.
Ooh, nice. So 6 out of 10. This the where that falls on the leaderboard. Oof, it's 23, 23rd.
23rd.
Yep.
I don't know. That doesn't fit right, does it? Considering the stuff, I mean, okay, the some of the stuff above it is obviously really good, but the stuff behind it, like
I think
just
it was.
behind it.
I think personally, I would have slotted it between the Vision and the Cat and the Bat. That's where I would have put it. So 2021.
Yeah, because you scored it at 6.5. That's exactly where you put it, Scott.
That's how this works. Yeah. But, no, I mean, I do get people's scores, of course, and that's obviously their interpretation of the story to give it that score. But yeah, no, that's how we roll here. We all share our opinions and fully respect all of them anyway. So that's us. 6 out of 10. Great book. I think it's about time to find out what we are reading next week, and it's a secret one. Did anyone guess it? Did anyone get it? Because we used to put the schedule up, but we didn't do this one because for episode 52, we're doing a nice bookend. We started with Secret Wars for the year, and we're going to end with Secret Wars 2 from 1985.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Shane cannot contain his excitement. So yeah, that's just a really lovely way to kind of bookmark the first year of the Nerd Herd. We're obviously in celebratory mood, So Secret Wars, it starts. Secret Wars 2. Looking forward to it.
I don't know. I think I am. I'm secretly hoping it's just as bad.
I mean, I want to know what happens. Why is there a second one? Is what I want to know.
And there's been more since,
Yeah, there's been more since.
But as I mentioned, that is our birthday, the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club's birthday. We are in celebratory mood. We are looking forward to being a year old and looking forward to what comes forward. But it's a special landmark occasion, so we're going to celebrate it. So, folks, get your schedules ready because October 2nd, 8:30 p.m., we have an end of season 1 wrap up. That's like a party celebration. So please join us for that. That will be Saturday, the 2nd of October, 8:30 p.m. And we're going to get that up on our YouTube. So click that little schedule bell. And, we're going to have some good discussions about what we've read. We have some people on the stream as well. So join us for that. I think that's all.
Both of these,
you go ahead, Scott.
both of these episodes are now up on YouTube for you to go ahead and set the reminders and do all the stuff that you like to do with them. Sounded weird, but yeah.
Yeah.
Do all the stuff you like to do. What do you do? You can only click remind and like.
Listen, the anticipation for next week is already building up. So here we go. Pete from Triple G. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
And Tottenham Gaming. He's giving it a 10 out of 10. He's so excited he's giving us the score early. So yep, that's next week. So join us for that. I just want to go through you guys to see what you guys have coming up on your channels. Do you want to, Scott, do you want to lead the way? Do you have anything coming up?
Yes, sir. We have Comic Airwaves episode 8 coming over on Saturday. Episode 8 is going to be fantastic. We've been working a lot of on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So it's going to look a bit better than normal. So we're really looking forward to just showing you everything that we've done. We've got a brand new feature, and we've also got some of the classic favorites that everyone enjoys. So that is this Saturday, September 25th, 8:30 in the UK, and I don't know what time that is. 2:30 and somewhere else, Central Time, I think it is. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. Philip will be there, and producer Liam will be popping in now and again as well.
I just hope my internet's okay that night.
It will be fine.
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
Shane, I know you've got something coming up.
Yes, Dawn of Comics Quiz Night 12. This is not the only thing that is 1 year old. The quiz has been going for 12 months. So the 12th one, the 1 year special, will be going live Sunday, I'm thinking 4 o'clock. So nice and early. Everyone can have their dinner. Tune
4
into
a.m.
the quiz. No, PM. Everyone have their dinner, then come and join and watch the quiz live. We'll premiere it at 4 o'clock on Sunday on my YouTube channel at Dawn of Comics.
Cool. I also have a video this week, if that's okay. I know it's shocking.
No way.
I can't listen. I had a spare 5 minutes this week. So it's not a specials Comic Airwaves or specials of the year quiz. It's just my review of TMNT IDW Collection Volume 1. I read it and I have it coming out probably tomorrow. Just bear with me, but that is coming up. But I'm going to make every conservative effort to be more active on my channel, because I can't have you guys have all the glory.
You're on Comic Airwaves every month, Phil.
Yeah, but that's, well. But I missed last month and I felt really bad for it. But I will be here this Saturday on Comic Airwaves, of course, with really good internet and really good hair.
1 out of 2.
Like as Liam says, who are you and what have you done with Phil? I've got videos coming out. Just bear with. All right, so folks, that's it. I don't think there's anything hold on. There's something written here. It says, "Get your waves out."
Hey. Bye-bye.
Keep waving. I'm slow.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.